Some bourbons hit with a punch, others glide in smooth, leaving a lasting impression. But what happens when you take a 4-grain bourbon, keep the corn and the wheat high in the mash bill? That's what we're gonna find out tonight with Penelope Wheated 4-grain bourbon. It's softer, sweeter, smoother, but is it better? Stick around and find out. It's the Simple Whiskey Show.
Simple whiskey, Cyncere. Here to keep it 100. What's the ABV? Keep it simple. Simple whiskey, and be sweeter.
Welcome back to the Simple Whiskey Show. I'm Cyncere, and tonight we're diving into Penelope Wheated. Penelope is known for their innovative blending, and this bottle takes the classic 4-grain mash bill and keeps the rye and malted barley to 10% of the blend. The fact that they leave the corn and the wheat high gives it a softer, sweeter profile. Tonight we're gonna nose, sip, and add a little water to see how it opens up. Then we're gonna make a recommendation. Speaking of recommendations, I recommend you smash that like button, subscribe, turn on your notifications so you'll never miss out on a single pour. All right, let's get right to it. So here's what we're working with. 4-grain bourbon whiskey, high corn and wheat mash bill, 7% rye, 3% malted barley, which makes up the lower half of the grains. Aged 4 to 6 years at 95 proof. Decent on the price on this one, coming in around 45 bucks here. I was able to pick this one up a couple of weeks ago when I was out sulking about not being able to get me a Havana. And I tend to lean towards some of the sweeter profiles, so the high corn and wheat in this one, right up my alley. I'm just curious to see how it holds up tonight. At 45 bucks, my thoughts are, why not at least try it? I do tend to collect Penelope since it is in my daughter's name. Is Penelope Wheated 4-grain bourbon worth it? Let's find out. All right, let's give it a nose. Okay, so I definitely get a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of caramel, almost like a baking spice or like a fresh baked bread note on this one as well. And then on the back end of it, I get a little bit of citrus. Not sure where that's even coming from. I don't remember getting that the first night I tried it. Anywho, let's dive in for a sip. Cheers. This coming in at 95 proof, it definitely doesn't drink like a 95 proofer. The sweetness I get on this, the little bit of caramel, and just how smooth it is tends to make me think that this is gonna be an excellent, at least starter, get your night started type of a whiskey. I do get a little bit of that citrus note on the back end, but not as much as I got on the nose from it. I get more of that vanilla, a lot more of that caramel, and not to mention old tater juice Buffalo Trace again, but this right here is like a good matchup head to head against like a Buffalo Trace. Paying 45 bucks for this versus $28 for Buffalo Trace, I'd be a lot more tempted to just get Buffalo Trace. Granted, I don't know how readily available this is gonna continue to be. The last couple of weeks I've been in the ABC stores here locally in Virginia, I have seen this one on the shelves every time I've been in there, but they are moving because usually it's like 1 or 2 left from the previous week's truck. So people are into it, it seems. Curious to see what some of the reviewers think of this one. Matter of fact, let me know in the comments down below if you've had Penelope Wheated and what your thoughts are on it. So as we dive a little bit further into the pour, we're gonna add 5 drops of water to it just to see how does it open up. Is there anything that's good, bad, the ugly about it once you add water to it? And the reason I do that is the little bit of water that you add here can open up a whiskey to enhance the flavor. And for the folks who like to drink their whiskey on ice, as that water slowly melts and seeps into the bourbon or to the whiskey, the flavor profile will open up, and this should give you some sort of a hint as to what you may get on that if you've never had it before. So let's add the agua. Okay, so water's been added. We know that I get caramel on everything that water's been added to, except for whatever it was I did most recently that I didn't quite get that caramel note. But given this one already had a base caramel note, I'm guaranteeing I'm probably gonna get an even richer or sweeter caramel note. Yeah, caramel, get a lot more of the caramel. The vanilla almost goes down to more of a honey note. And then some sort of like a sweet cream is what I get on this. That fresh baked bread is nowhere near as strong. I mean, it's a little bit sweeter, if anything, maybe like a Hawaiian roll, but super sweet on the nose. This smells great. So let's go in for a sip with the water added. Cheers. As I was chewing on this one, I got like a really prominent butterscotch note, and then I get something a little bit warmer, almost like a cinnamon note, but that honey note that I smelled on the nose is definitely more of a sweet cream. I don't get the honey like I thought I would based off of the nose, but that butterscotch note has overpowered what was more of a caramel note, and to me they're very similar, but definitely sweeter, definitely more of a butterscotchy note. And again, that honey note just went to like a sweet cream. The finish on it, I don't think I mentioned it earlier, a little bit medium. That's where I got a lot of that breadiness, and that's where I got a lot more of that little bit of oakiness that I got on it the first go around. But overall, I mean, this is a good pour. So let's break it down and see what we get from a Simple Thoughts perspective. So is Penelope Weeded worth picking up? When you take into consideration the price, the proof, and what you get on the profile, I think that $45 might just be a little bit out of that tier for your regular starter bourbons for any given evening. I don't think this is a bad pour, but when I take into consideration what I can get out there, bang for my buck, with lesser price point, similar flavor profile, if not even sweeter, I just leave this as a try before you buy. Maybe you'll like it over one of the others I mentioned, like I said, the Green River and the Buffalo Trace. Since I've compared it to both, I'm gonna pour a little bit of each of those and see where this one stacks up. Maybe I'll even turn it into a blind sometime down the road. All right, so I refreshed my Penelope Weeded, no more water in it, rinsed the glass and got it going. I'll actually come back to this one last since it is fresh on the palate. But Green River Weeded has been one that, I mean, you can look at this bottle and see that just only I've had this one probably as long as I've had. As a matter of fact, I think I bought these on the same day. And you see how much more I've went back to this one as opposed to the Penelope. But again, whenever you're comparing them 1-to-1, things are different. And obviously, if I did it in a blind, it'd be even more different because when you're looking at them, you have these preconceived notions as to what you think you're going to get on it, and you go from there. But let's try the Green River and just see. Cheers. See, the flavor on the Green River to me is just richer and it's more impactful. And this is 90 proof. So the Penelope is 95 proof. The Green River is 90, but I get such a sweeter caramel note on this. And maybe that's the proof difference. This might be a little bit rougher around the edges at the 95 proof. Whereas when I had it for the first sip of the night, I didn't even notice it. But coming and comparing the Green River to it, this tastes fuller and a little more smooth in terms of the flavor. Buffalo Trace, obviously this is my usual go-to daily sipper. So, oh yeah, I mean, that cherry note I get on this is always amazing. Two different levels of flavor. So this one, that caramel and cherry note that I love about Buffalo Trace, the cherry note seems to come on top of the caramel note, which usually I get more of that caramel, more of that vanilla, and more then that cherry is like a middle palate aftertaste. This go around, I felt like I got that more so up front. But when I think about the three of these, I like that cherry note I get on this one, the smoothness of this one, and that little bit of bite I get on this one. And then one last time going back to the Penelope. Yeah, I think that 95 proof is what gives it a little bit more of a bite to it, but comparing the three, they're very similar, and if they were all 25 to 30 bucks a bottle, I'd say, you know what? Any of these, good starter whiskey, one to get you going regardless of what type of afternoon or evening you're trying to have. The fact that this is 45, I think this is 39, and then this is 28. I'm lining them up in that order from left to right, saying, okay, best value, great value, lesser value, unless you're going solely off of the 5 extra proof points. So, I mean, that would warrant it possibly going up in price. But when, like I said, when I'm considering the flavor profiles of each of these, to me, I still like Buffalo Trace the best. And then these two are close, but they're two different notes because this is sweeter and this has a little bit of that baking spice that I don't get on any of the other two. All right, are you picking up what I'm putting down, or did I just confuse you even further? At some point, I'm gonna do a blind tasting with at least these three and maybe add one more to it, because I'd love to see just how well, when I don't know what I'm sipping, which ones of these stand out amongst the others. Because I've found that when it comes to a blind tasting, all bets are off. You can blind the same 4 whiskeys 3 nights in a row and have a different winner on all 3 nights. At least I could. Let me know in the comments down below if that's how you are when it comes to blind tastings as well. Do you feel like that more often than not, you'll go into a blind tasting and think, okay, I know which one I love the most, it's gotta win, and then be surprised that if you got 4 whiskeys that it comes in 3rd or 4th. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to check out my review on Penelope Valencia. It's another bottle that took me by surprise, and remember, good whiskey is like good company. Sometimes the smoother it is, the longer you wanna stay. Here's to full glasses, great conversation, and keeping it simple. Cheers.